Hey guys, it's Fusion What Ifs here, and this is kind of weird because I just posted a video saying that recordings are gonna be slower than usual, but I'm recording like once a day now. So yeah, I'll record whenever I can. If I don't record for a few days, that means that I'm either sick, lazy, or I've been too busy doing something. I might record a second one today. It depends on how much time I have left. And yeah, without further ado, play my intro. Okay, now that's done, let's get straight into the story. So, as you can see in the picture, this is what if Deku had overhaul. And if you guys can hear that, I'm playing music in the background right now. Please don't copyright me. I'm pretty sure this song doesn't have any copyright. Yeah. So, yeah, let's start this video. So in this, Deku's gonna be the brother of Chisaki. Yeah, he's gonna be Chisaki's younger brother. The way this is gonna work is that when Chisaki's parents abandoned him, they decided to have another kid. And this kid would be Deku. While Chisaki's mom was giving birth to Deku, she died. And with this, hatred, Chisaki's dad would get mad at Deku whenever he saw him because Deku technically caused the death of his wife. So at some point, it would get too much, and Deku would want him to disappear. And at this point, he's around 4 years old. So since he's 4 years old, he awakened his quirk. When his dad is abusing him, all he's thinking is that disappear, I want you to disappear. And then he touches his dad, then his dad just disintegrates. Deku's afraid because he just killed his own father. And then he tries to bring him back. He says, no, reappear, come back. And then he touches the grains of sand, and suddenly it starts to swirl and reconstruct back into his dad. At this point, his dad is terrified. He's not even going to test it. As soon as he comes back, he starts screaming, monster. And then he puts Deku in the car, right? He drives Deku all the way to the forest, and he just drops him off there. Deku's honestly very confused about what just happened, because his quirk just activated and his dad called him a monster because of it. Right now he's in the forest crying, and while this is happening, he comes across a pro hero named Eraserhead. Currently, Eraserhead was on a mission, doing something, and for some reason, it was in the forest. It was like to take care of bears, and Izuku talks or bumps into Eraserhead. Eraserhead starts asking him questions like, "Kid, where's your parents?" As soon as he says this, Izuku starts to break down and cry even more because his parents just abandoned him. He tells Eraserhead that his dad abandoned him when his quirk awakened, and Aizawa's confused, so he asks Deku to demonstrate his quirk. Deku then shows Aizawa his quirk. So currently, he can only disintegrate and bring things back. So he touches a tree, then the tree slowly starts to turn to dust. And then Aizawa is shocked. And then he's about to tell Deku, but then Deku interrupts him and says, "That's not all." And then he brings back the tree. At this point, Eraserhead is very confused because he's thinking that Deku's quirk is just to destroy and like to bring back what you've destroyed. So create and destroy. But it isn't. So Aizawa takes him to the police station. A detective tells him that he can't really go back to his dad if his dad abandoned him in the forest. What's gonna stop him from doing that again? And he seems attached to you, so why don't you just adopt him? So Aizawa adopts Deku. And Deku's name is now gone from Izuku Chisaki to Izuku Aizawa. So at this point, Deku's gonna go to the school that Bakugou goes to too. So he goes to school, and people ask what his quirk is. At this point, he's gone to the quirk doctor, and the quirk doctor told him that his quirk is similar to his older brother's because they did do the DNA test there. So he found out that he had an older brother. It's pretty much his older brother's. It's overhaul. But this one's a bit different. He can do it on sight. He doesn't necessarily need to touch anything. So if he's not careful, he could accidentally just kill someone and bring them back. But it puts a massive strain on his eyes. And at this point, Deku's too young for it to actually work. Like, the power is too strong for him to work. So since he's only 4, if he tried to use the ability right now, he wouldn't be able to, and he would just like go temporarily blind because it's a very powerful ability. Because overall itself is like, with the exception of All for One and One for All, it's by far one of the strongest, if not strongest, quirk. So I need to put some kind of difference in it. Yeah, so he tells the class that his quirk is create and destroy, or overhaul. And then they ask what it is, and he says that he has the ability to rearrange and destroy. So right now he's wearing gloves because he doesn't want to accidentally kill anyone. So he goes to a desk, right? His desk. Then he touches the desk. He takes off the glove, then touches the desk. The desk suddenly disintegrates. Everyone's amazed. But then he brings the desk back. And then everyone's even more amazed because he could easily become the number 1 hero of a quirk like this. And they know that he could easily beat anyone in the class right now without even trying. Bakugou's a bit pissed at this, so he calls Deku a villain because his quirk is destructive, because it can kill anyone if he's not careful. And then Deku asks Bakugou what his quirk is, and Bakugou tells him that his quirk is explosions. Deku then starts to chuckle a bit. He says explosions. Don't terrorists use explosions? Isn't your quirk technically a villain quirk? At least whenever I destroy things, I can bring them back. But if you go too far and accidentally explode someone's head off, what are you gonna do then? You can't bring them back. My quirk is able to bring back the dead. I can technically kill all of you here and bring you back. And if you killed anyone here, you would instantly go to jail. So Bakugou thinks about this and he's very pissed. And he tells the class that Deku's a villain because he said that he would be willing to kill anyone in the class. So that happens. Deku's known as a villain throughout elementary school until middle school. People in Bakugou's rumored that Deku's a villain because of how destructive his quirk is. And yeah, so because of that, Deku's avoided a bit until around the last year, like the last few months of his first year. He gains a few friends because people don't believe Bakugou anymore. Because at this point, Deku was able to like fix people. Like whenever people would like get scrapes or like break bones, he would go up and fix them. At first people would be scared, but after a while they figured out that Deku wasn't really a villain. So he gained a few friends and he was quite popular. And Deku wears a jacket over his school uniform because overhaul does work on touch, so he doesn't accidentally want to kill someone. So yeah, he gains a few friends. He's very popular. I gotta tell you guys, Izuku's hair in this is not gonna be green. It's going to be brown like his brother's, and he's going to have brownish gold eyes. He's not gonna be as sensitive to dirt as his brother is, but he's still not gonna like dirt. So yeah. Now we skip to the last year of the school year, third year. So the teacher walks in, says, "These are career papers. I'm supposed to pass these out." The whole class groans, and then she throws the papers in the air, and everyone cheers because the teacher just said that they all just want to become heroes. So everyone starts showing off their quirks except for Izuku and Bakugou. Bakugou then starts screaming, "Don't lump me with these bunch of losers." They're lucky if they're even able to enlist with D-listers past their prime. And everyone is looking at Bakugou with like deadly intent because he's trashing them. And then he says, "Bakugou, you want to go to UA?" And then Bakugou says, "Yes, I'm probably the only one who'd ever be able to make it." And then the teacher says, "Oh, Izuku does wants to go to UA too." And people would say like, "Oh yeah, Izuku's definitely getting into UA. If Bakugou gets in, then Izuku's definitely getting in 110%." And Bakugou's pissed. He's like, "What did you say, you losers? I'm so much better than this dude." And then teacher chimes in saying, not exactly. I know that you have good scores and all that, but Izuku ranks first in our school in physical and academical scores, so you don't stand a chance." And at this, Bakugou is pissed, and then he goes to try to explode Deku, but Deku just takes off his glove and he taps the floor, and suddenly a pillar comes up and it hits Bakugou in the stomach, winding him, stopping him from approaching anymore. So Deku took care of that very easily. The teacher thanks Deku for taking care of that with minimal damage. So Izuku touches the ground again. He puts the pillar back because he doesn't want that to be there. And yeah. So yeah. He walks home to school. This time it's not a shortcut. He takes that tunnel almost every day because the way to his house is also through that shortcut. So he goes through the shortcut and he's attacked by a Sludge villain. The Sludge villain attacks him, and Deku dodges this because Aizawa made sure that Izuku wasn't just focused on his quirk, and so that if anyone ever tried to attack him, he would be able to defend himself if he wasn't able to use his quirk. So right now Izuku's fast, like he's buff enough to be able to use like 5 to 6% of one for all. So yeah, he's decently fast and he dodges Sludge villain. The fun villain says, Hey, please close my door. Okay, guys, that was my sister. She came and give me some cookies. She's nice. She's very nice. Shout out to my sister. And she's not my older sister, she's my younger sister, so yeah. Let's continue. Where did I leave off? Yeah. The Sludge villain was saying, "Oh, you have such a nice body. You'd be perfect. I know it would respect me being there." The villain tries to attack Deku, but then Deku takes off his glove and then taps his pinky on the ground. When he does this, suddenly a cage or earth starts to come from the ground and it boxes the Sludge villain up. The Sludge villain starts screaming like, let me out, kid. And the Sludge villain can't get past it because he made sure that the box was airtight. He made sure the box was airtight because he didn't want the Sludge villain escaping. He's about to call his dad before All Might came in saying, "Never fear, for I am here." Izuku at this point knows All Might, but he doesn't know about the time limit. He knows All Might knows about the time limit, but he doesn't know about One for All. So Izuku says, "Oh, Uncle Might, I already took care of him." And what was it? Yeah. All Might's like, my boy Izuku, good job. But you know you're not allowed to use your quirk outside. But because it was in self-defense, I'll let it go. So he takes the Sludge villain through the... He takes, Deku puts down the barriers of the Sludge villain, then All Might Texas smashes it and puts him in a bottle, and then he jumps away. And yeah, Deku continues his walk home, and his dad is there with Nomura, who is Midnight, and Asashi. What is that his name? I'm not even sure. His name sounds close to Asashi. That's President Mike. So yeah, they go back. President Mike calls Izuku Izu because she's just like that, and President Mike does his usual loud screaming thing when he calls Izuku's name. So he goes back home. He goes talk to his dad. He also talks with Uncle Mike and Auntie Nomuri, whatever her name is. So yeah, that happens. His dad suggests that he cleans Deagle Beach because it could help him gain up that more physical strength, one, and two, it could what was it? And two, it'd be good for this society. And yeah, he does that. Time skip to the entrance exam, brought to you by me eating my cookie. Done. So we go all the way to the entrance exam. Izuku doesn't trip this time. It's gonna be Uraraka who trips. And before she hits the ground, Izuku taps the floor, and he makes how do I say this? He makes a type of foothold. He makes the ground around her cover her foot so that she doesn't actually fall. So she's just there, standing. Izuku goes to her, places her upright, and then he taps the floor again, putting everything back to the place it used to be. Uraraka right now is supposed to, and he says, thank you. And Izuku says, no problem. My name's Izuku Aizawa. What's yours? Then Uraraka says, oh, Uraraka Ochako. They talk for a bit, then Deku says that the entrance exam is starting soon and they should probably get going. They agree, then they will go in. Deku completely aces the the what was it called again? The written portion of the exam, because Deku's very smart. Like, even in the anime, he's very smart. And just him being with Aizawa just made him a bit better, because Aizawa teaches and Deku has, like, he's in college level activity right now. So he scores beyond first place. I thought Nezu put a few mistakes there on purpose to see who could catch them. So Deku changed them up, and he got like 118% because he corrected Nezu. So yeah. Not to the entrance exam. Um right now they're in the auditorium. President Mike is explaining the exam. Then a blue-haired kid stands up and says, I see a shadow of a fourth floor bot. If this isn't made by UA, I am very disappointed. And then he turns to Deku and says, you're wearing a jacket. You're wearing a very baggy jacket for no reason. Explain yourself. I need a reason. Like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I hate Iida. I hate him. So I'm gonna make him Deku's enemy. They're not gonna be friends in this one. So at this, Deku takes off a cup and he taps the floor, right? Then suddenly the floor under Lita sinks, and the only thing that they could see was his head. Then Izuku then says, calm down. One, I'm wearing a baggy jacket because my quirk is a bit destructive, so I need it. And two, you would have known if you just let him explain. He was getting to it. And Uncle Mike says, hey, thanks, Izuku. And then Deku says, you're welcome, Uncle Mike. Then he taps the floor again. Lita comes out. Lita sits down and becomes quiet, because he just got his butt handed to him by someone who just simply tapped the floor, so he doesn't want to mess with him. And yeah, he explains his 0-pointer, and they go to the entrance exam. Deku sees Uraraka, and he goes to try to cheer her up, but then Iida comes in saying, if you want to distract her, then you might as well knock him to the hero school. And the thing is that he touched Izuku on his hand, right? So when he touched Izuku's hand, like his bare skin, right? His hand started to what was it called? His hand started to slowly, like, Deku made it so that when he made contact, he broke every single bone in Lita's arm. So as soon as he touched Deku, his whole hand broke. And then Deku said, I warned you. And he goes to Iida, he taps his hand, he fixes the bones. Then he goes to talk to Uraraka. He cheers her up saying, you're here, you deserve this, come on, do your best, you can definitely make it. At this, she's encouraged, and yeah, they go do the entrance exam. The gates open and Izuku runs. Izuku knows about what to do when they're doing the entrance exam, so he doesn't wait for President Mike's countdown. Everyone's looking there stunned, and then President Mike says, "Run, run! There's no countdown in real battles." Then everyone starts running, and yeah. They start running, and then, like, Izuku's there. He's gotten a few points. Like, at this point, he's gone around, I want to say, a few... around 200, 300, because he's touching the floor and making spikes. Like, you know how, overhaul does, like, he puts his hand on the floor, he kneels, then Suddenly, large spikes come out of the ground. Izuku's doing that, and yeah. So when he does that, um, he's getting massive amount of points, and at some point, I'm gonna give this to Deku. Deku's overall is gonna be different from his brothers because if they're the exact same, it's gonna be about who has more experience, and it's going to be Chisaki. So I don't want Deku losing that fight. So I think he's gonna have a certain sensing ability. If he puts his hand on the floor, he can feel the ripples of the ground. So Deku then decides to use this to his advantage. He goes to no, he destroys 1/4 of all of the robots of the test because he wants other people to get it in, and he also wants that girl Ochako to also get in, so he doesn't want to destroy all of the robots. So by putting his hand on the ground, he could sense the stomps, and he distinguished the stomps that were from the robots and humans. So he created spikes under them and destroyed them. Right now, Izuku's rocking like a good 400 or something points. 400 points. 410 points. Then Nezu sees this and he's like, he looks at Aizawa and says, Aizawa, your son, he's too good. If he really wanted to, he could have ended this exam in 2 seconds. Aizawa is there smiling and says, yeah. And then Nezu starts laughing furiously, like laughing very hard, and he says, time to bring it out. And then he pushes a red button while laughing. This red button brings up the 0-pointer. And the 0-pointer, when it comes down, it hits the building and rubble. Rubble falls down, and Araka barely misses it, but it still hits her leg. So her can't move her leg, and then she screams, help, help. And Deku sensed this because he felt like she was like hitting her hand on the floor. So Deku sensed it. He touched the floor. He made like a type of earth wave that travels very, very fast. So he got there in a matter of seconds, and he saw everyone running away from the girl that was about to get stomped, and he's like, oh, people these days. Then he puts his hand on the floor, and a massive spike impales the 0-pointer, and it explodes. While this is happening, Izuku touches a rubble that's on Uraraka, and he reshapes the rubble into a block. Like a block of rubble. So he asks if she's okay, and she says that she's fine, except she thinks that she broke her leg. So Izuku touched her leg, then he rearranged it, and he fixed the bone. She's very surprised, and she thanks Izuku, and people saw this and they're very amazed because not only could he take out the 0-pointer in one attack, but he could also fix bones like it was nothing. So yeah. And at this point, Deku's kind of exhausted. Like he wasted like 75% stamina doing the whole exam. So yeah. Recovery Girl walks in, asks if anyone's hurt. Everyone's hurt. Then when Recovery Girl sees Izuku healing Uraraka, she says, "Oh, boy, if you keep on doing this, you're gonna take away my job." And then he says, never, Bachang, because Bachang is like grandma, I'm pretty sure. And then she says, "Stop calling me Bachang." And then he says, "Nah." And that happens. He goes home, he gets the letter, and this time instead of it being All Might, it's gonna be his dad saying that he made it in with 460 points because he saved Uraraka. I did 480 points because he saved Uraraka and healed her. So yeah. And he tells him that he's in class 1A. Then he says, "Welcome to Your Hero Academia," in a very monotone voice. Izuku wants to be surprised, but he really can't. So he says, "Dad, really?" And then his dad says, So yeah, I'm gonna end it off there. Thank you so much if you're watching this, and peace out.